Hello, my lovely followers and subscribers, and those of you who are just tuning in. So this video is going to talk about and discuss a topic that, a lot of people don't maybe know about it or have even heard of it. So some of my clients have been asking me to kind of maybe go into more detail about what the dark night of the soul is. So I'm going to go ahead and first read you what I researched online in regards to the dark night of the soul. So the dark night of the soul is the title given to a poem of the 16th century Spanish poet and Roman Catholic Discalced Carmelite mystic, priest, and doctor of the Church, St. John of the Cross, OCD. The author did not entitle his poem, on which he wrote two book-length commentaries, The Ascent of Mount Carmel and The Dark Night. The poem of St. John of the Cross, OCD, in 8 stanzas of 5 lines each, narrates the journey of the soul to mystical union with God. The journey is called the Dark Night, in part because darkness represents the fact that destination, God, is unknowable, as in the 14th century, a mystical classic, The Cloud of the Unknowing, which derives, as does St. John's poem, from the works of Pseudo-Dionysius, the Areopagite, in the 6th century. So essentially, the Dark Night is your soul's journey back to God, source, light, your authentic truth. Now, the purpose of this video is to shed light on what the Dark Night of the Soul is, but it's also to, using my own life experience and my own story, give you maybe some hope if you are going through something very similar. I can give you kind of a background of my own story. I was living at my dad's house for about a year and a half, and I was living in the basement where my aunt had actually taken her own life. So before I moved into the basement or into that environment, I had kind of convinced myself that, if there was a God or if there was spirit, I was very, very, very logical, grounded, scientific based. Like I have a degree in human kinetics, like it's pre-medical, like basically if I can see it, I will believe it. If I don't see it, then I won't believe it. But I did have deep down some faith in, in spirituality and knowing that there is something beyond than what we see. But it wasn't until I moved to that basement where my aunt's soul had departed that I really woke up spiritually. And that's usually what happens during the Dark Night of the Soul. It's where your soul is literally waking up. So I moved there, and a year and a half, it was probably one of the most treacherous years of my life. That's the Dark Night of the Soul. It's there to test your soul and its existence on this planet. So living there, I would go to bed almost every night, like completely depressed, and I didn't know why. I was feeling and seeing and hearing things that was driving me crazy. And then a lot of negative things started happening, and before my aunt had passed away, a lot of negative things were happening in her lifetime. Very similar things that were happening to me as I moved into the basement. What ended up happening was, after a year and a half, within a week, my cat passed away suddenly, and I knew that moment where it was going to happen because I just empathically knew. And that's kind of where I sort of started realizing that I was able to pick up on things before they even happened. So my cat passed away. I had applied to positions out in Australia for school and I got accepted. But I realized now that I was actually kind of running away from my problems, which I'll go more into detail when it comes to the Dark Night about that. And so I lost my cat, and then that same weekend, I believe it was, or a few days later, I went to a house party, and my whole soul was telling me not to go. My intuition, everything about it was like, don't go to the house party. But I wasn't listening to that because I wasn't connected. My head and my heart were completely disconnected at that point because of the negative energy that I was kind of in that environment. And that night, I almost lost my life. I was drugged by an individual at the party. I don't know who it was. I was drinking a little bit. I mean, who doesn't go to a party to drink a little bit? So I was a little bit intoxicated, and then someone had actually slipped something in my drink, and because I'm very sensitive physically, it flipped my world upside down. That night, my heart was like through the roof, and I almost went to emergency that night, but I didn't for various reasons. I'm not going to go into any more detail about that because it doesn't really matter about things that people have kind of did to me during the party. It wasn't anything like bad. It's just I wanted to get help, but no one would let me because they were afraid of getting caught. That's so far in the past. This is years and years, and this is like 2-3 years now since it's happened. But anyway, so that night I felt like I knew something was off, and because I never felt like this ever before. After that happened, it was maybe about 2 or 3 weeks later that the effects of the drug, whatever it was. I've had psychiatrists tell me that it was it was ecstasy cut with methamphetamine, which is absolutely insane. But that night I wasn't able to sleep, and then consecutively I wasn't able to sleep pretty much for a month and a half. I wasn't getting like proper REM sleep. I was always getting shallow sleep. And when you don't get enough sleep in your physical body, you go crazy. So it took me about a week where I knew something was wrong. The third day into getting drugged, I actually had this massive headache that came out of nowhere, and it felt like someone had taken a bat and just hit me in the back of my head. And I didn't make the connection. I didn't know that it was the drug that did it, or if it was just me feeling sick. Because again, like so prior to this, like I ate so healthy. I was exercising every day. I had a personal trainer. I eat very, very clean, like a lot of vegetables. I'm all into physical health because that is my degree. It's human kinetics. So I'm all about taking care of the body and being healthy. So prior to this being drugged, I didn't really take any substance other than maybe some alcohol every now and then during like hanging out with friends, but nothing crazier than that, which is why it probably affected me much more. But anyway, so that happened, and then so it took about a month or so before the onset of like just pure depression, anxiety, and psychosis set in. One of my biggest fears growing up, and it's just been an odd fear that I've always had, is losing my ability to think. My biggest fear is losing my own sanity. That was that I can tell you right now wholeheartedly, that was my biggest fear. I was forced into a drug-induced psychosis that lasted about a year. I'd say a year and a half because there was still lingering post-traumatic stress from it, but that's basically kind of where it's the time frame from which it happened, which I can tell you right now, that was my dark night of the soul. That was when my life was flipped upside down. I almost lost my life. Couple weeks in, I started having terrifying nightmares, and a lot of this actually correlated to the spiritual side of things that I was experiencing. It wasn't just the being drugged at a house party. It incorporated the fact that a lot of this energy that the basement already held, a lot of my friends couldn't even live in the basement, live there. They couldn't even visit me when I was down there because it was just so negative. I, on the other hand, I feel like I'm a light being. Even if there's negativity, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, this negativity ain't got nothing on me. So I was okay with living down there, and I was able to hold on to so much. But then there got to a point where it became too much, and being drugged was like the cherry on top. So I ended up moving out of the basement. I actually moved back to my mom's house, which I'm here now, because prior to that I was actually living at my mom's house. When I moved back here, it was awful. Like, so I don't know if anyone knows this. I'm sure maybe some of you know this by now, but so I'm into guys. I ended up coming out to my mom at that time frame, and it wasn't easy either because I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, so there was a lot of religious factors based on like my own sexuality and coming to terms with my own truth. So there was a lot of built up ego over time that I had never really dealt with. And now it's like the universe forced me to deal with it. It's like, Will, you can't go off to Australia for school because you haven't dealt with coming out to your family. You can't move forward in your life until you've healed certain aspects of yourself that you're avoiding and neglecting, which I was running away from a lot of problems when I really look back now. And it's my spirit guides and angels I'm like such a Pisces. I go off topic so easily. Let me try to go back in order. So I ended up going back home, and I was hospitalized not hospitalized, but like in and out of hospital for half a year, so around 6 months. I just remember the last night where I had pretty much given up hope because a month had already gone by. So it happened in early October, end of September, early October, and by November it was the worst. I had been in the worst position ever. I wasn't able to go to Australia, so I lost my school. I just lost my cat, so I was still grieving over the loss of that as well. I lost my sanity. I lost my own ability to think, feel. I lost everything. I lost my job. I had to quit because I just couldn't go to work. I had anxiety attacks. Literally just getting up in the morning, I would go into a panic mode. That's how unbalanced the chemistry in my brain was after I was drugged. And then it got to the point where I couldn't eat anymore. So I don't know if anyone knows a lot about ecstasy. I had to do a lot of research on this afterwards, but ecstasy depletes all of your serotonin stores from your brain. Serotonin, dopamine, and something else. Something that makes you feel good. What ecstasy does is you have that rush, but then you have 3 or 4 days of post-recovery. But what happened was it was such a high dose, it actually destroyed the neuron endings of my brain. So I wasn't capable of restoring the serotonin and holding that. And serotonin has everything to do with memory as well. I lost so much. I lost my memory. I lost weight. I had become like stick thin. I'm actually going to post a picture of a before and after of me during this video, so I might do it now just because I'm talking about it. And you can see that, you know, on the one side I'm healthy, I have like healthy weight. I eat, like I was eating, I was exercising, and this was before. And then there's an after where I'm smiling, but I'm telling you right now that smile was completely forced. There's not one part of my soul that was happy at that moment. I had lost so much weight. I was literally just skin and bones. That's all I was. And my hair started falling out, which was really, really scary too. So I was going through hell, and I didn't know why, I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know why I had to go through it. I think the biggest thing is I didn't know why I had to go through that. What did I do so bad in my life that I had to experience something so horrible? And that's the thing about life. It's not about why you have to do it. It's the lessons that you came here to learn. But anyway, so in and out of hospitals, I ended up seeing one psychiatrist who basically said it'd take me about a year to get healthy. He prescribed me medication. He prescribed me antipsychotics. I was on Seroquel. I tried Seroquel, and that was like completely awful. Like I thought I was gonna, like it felt like, I don't know how I was supposed to say it. It was like iron just all over my body. And then I had horrible nightmares. The next day I couldn't even swallow food, like just messing my whole system up. And then I tried that for 2 nights, and I was so terrified to even get on this medication because I'm not the type of person to take meds. I'm such a clean person when it comes to my own diet and what I put into my body. Like I try to treat my body like a temple, and that was completely against everything that I instill in my own values, to take a pharmaceutical drug that messes with the mind or to mask emotions. So I was on Seroquel for 2 nights, and then I stopped that. I was also prescribed Cipralex, which is like it's a newer antidepressant. So I was on Cipralex, and Cipralex actually helped. I was much worse off than I was if I didn't take those drugs. I was like, you know what? I have nothing to lose at this point. I literally lost everything, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. So I started taking Cipralex, and within 3 days, I actually started feeling a little bit better. My appetite started coming back. My ability to kind of go to bed and sleep started coming back. I was able to get like somewhat of a good night's rest. But then at one point I was like, you know, I don't need this anymore. Like I'm done with this. And that was a bad decision. My brain hadn't healed properly from being able to store serotonin. And I always think it's like be able to store serotonin or release serotonin. I always go back to like the physical side of it because I am trained in medical science. So I know how the body functions. So I stopped taking Cipralex, not through doctor's orders, like I just did it on my own because I was so in control of my own health. Being pre-med too, I always say doctors make the worst patients because we try to control everything when it comes to our own health. But I mean, like, we know our body's the best. You know your body's the best. So it's being in tune with that. So I stopped taking it, and then I downfalled again. Like I literally went back into a depression, somewhat psychosis as well, and I checked myself back in the hospital. I'm like, I can't do this. Let me go back to the worst night of my life, okay? The worst night of my life was when I first checked myself in the hospital, and I was actually put under 24-hour watch because of me possibly harming myself or others. And that was a really, 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 really tough situation to be in. I just remember being in that bed. First off, I felt like a prisoner because there was a security guard outside my door, like basically watching me. There was a security camera on the top as well. And I was just laying there in the bed, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, my life can literally not get any worse than this. It literally can't. Like I've lost everything. I lost everything. And the only thing that I had left was myself. Was not only myself, but also my faith in God. So I'm laying there in bed. I'm just crying. Whatever happened to me, like I cried every night. Like just cry. It got to the point where I couldn't cry anymore. I had cried all my tears out, and me crying was dehydrating me. And crying is a natural way for your body to boost serotonin levels up as well. So my body's physical reaction to being drugged was to cry to help me restore it. But I couldn't because my brain was physically damaged to a certain degree. So I'm laying in bed, and I'm just, my head's on the pillow, and I remember looking up to the wall and the camera. At that point, I was literally, because I couldn't think, I could speak and say what I wanted to say. So it's like my soul knew everything about it, pushed me into my heart center. So the only little bit of light left that I had was in my heart, and I felt it. Even though my mind wasn't there, I felt it here. My soul felt it in my heart. And my heart knew that I wasn't this person that this drug or this situation had put me in. I remember just laying in bed and literally telling God, I surrender. I surrendered that night. I physically, emotionally, mentally, everything about my soul surrendered to God. I'm like, God, this is the biggest test in my life. I'm I don't know what to do anymore. Like, this is it. Like, I thought this was it. Like, this was going to be my life for the rest of my life. I was never going to gain my own control back. I was going to be a victim of one night of somebody doing something awful to me. But something inside my soul was telling me that I have a bigger purpose in this life. I have a greater purpose, and that's to help people heal. That's to help people ascend, to help people get over possibly their dark nights of their soul. That was my moment. That was the moment that I had to make a decision. I could either give up on life now and live the rest of my life in this fear and this anxiety and this pain, or I can, that little bit of light that I still had in my heart, I can tap into that and just grow it, nurture it, and make it so big that the world will only see the light. And that's what I chose to do, because that's all I ever knew what to do. And it's so much better than choosing death, that's for sure. So that night I stayed in the hospital. I think I stayed in the hospital a few nights, actually, like on and off. The second night that I was actually checked in the hospital, a psychotherapist had actually seen me like after I was checked in, and he actually saw like synchronicity. In 1999, this was maybe 7 years ago or 10 years ago from when I was drugged, he'd actually seen something very similar where a teenage girl had taken drugs and she had prolonged psychosis for about a month and a half. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's insane, like that and that's when it clicked. That's when I was like, holy shit. The reason why I'm feeling this way is because of me being drugged. I made all of those connections, but it wasn't until the doctor actually brought that synchronicity up. So he actually prescribed me a medicine that he gave to the girl back then. And I'm telling you, within 3 days, my body was back to normal. I was laughing. I was joking. I was becoming more myself again. I wasn't fully myself because I still had a lot of pain and a lot of negativity that was still on my soul, or in my soul, and my energy field, my aura. And it took me about a good year and a half to fully cleanse it. I actually did have a spiritual advisor also do some spiritual work on me to energetically cleanse all of that heavy energy that I had on me, because it was to the point where I couldn't deal with it on my own. I wasn't strong enough, so I had someone help me with it. Like, through a lot of dedication, I went to the gym 3 or 4 days a week, a lot of cardio exercise to really get my serotonin levels back up. I ate a bunch of vegetables and herbal supplements. Like, I literally did everything in my power that I could have done to get myself back onto track. And it's interesting because like throughout my entire journey, that's when I started spiritually awakening. I started realizing that I was actually picking up on a lot of energy of people, thoughts that people had, energy that people held, and I was also picking up on spirit. And that's kind of when I started discovering that I had the ability to communicate to spirit through like channeling loved ones and picking up on the energy of other people. So I always say our thoughts and our voice and everything that we do in this world has such power and a lot of energy. It's like, you know, whatever you put out there, just make sure that whatever you put out is of the highest good, whether it's a thought or even speaking to someone, because it is all energy. Anyways, so it took me about a year and a half to fully get over it. Now, this is where the dark night of the soul comes in. I actually brought something with me. I actually bought this in Africa, and it is a very spiritual relic, but I'm going to use this as an example of like what the dark night is. The dark night is, so if we just think about our heart and our head is kind of like what creates the ego. We live in our ego. Even I live in my ego to some degree. It's a constant daily struggle to live outside of the ego and live in your heart space, because it's so easy to fall into ego, which is like negativity. Over time, what happens is we get disconnected from our head and our heart, and that's when we start living behind a mask. Sometimes we create these masks through disorders, like whether it's an eating disorder or whatever feeds the ego, an eating disorder or an addiction like gambling or alcoholism or drug addiction, or my strange addiction on TLC, like people are eating couches. Whatever that addiction is, it's just a way for you to feed your ego. You're not feeding your soul, you're feeding your ego. The things that feed your soul are things that make you feel that light in your heart is being expanded. And that could be something as simple as being with a puppy, or spending time with family and really enjoying family time together, or going swimming in an ocean. Those are the things that feed our soul. It helps us get connected to source, to God, to ourselves, to our higher self. So when it comes back to this ego, think about this mask as your ego. We all live behind, most of us, almost all of us live behind a mask. We're afraid of, I have a droopy eye. I don't know if you can see my droopy eye. So most of us live behind a mask, and it's only until the universe or God or our spirit guides force us to rip this mask off that we're only left with our raw, authentic self. Sometimes we get so comfortable wearing the mask that this mask is all we know, and it's all we abide life by. Once that mask's ripped off, it's like, where do I start this new foundation? This foundation should be started from your own truth. It should be started from your own heart, your heart space, your source. source. And that's where the whole dark night of the soul is. My spirit guides and angels, the way I see it, I had come so far off my higher purpose in life and my path in life that the universe forced me back onto it. But through the process, I also became a lot more spiritual. And it helps me now because I can use my gift to help heal others as well. And I say everyone out there has a gift. It can be spiritual, but it's about you following your heart and your highest good is what I always say. We're all given a gift in this lifetime, and it's about a matter of you utilizing it and moving forward with it. And then the universe will just make it happen for you. It'll be like a hot knife and butter. Like every decision you make is just the universe fully supports it as long as you're on the right path. When it comes down to this mask, I was living in a mask, and I just can't get over my droopy eye. The thing is when we wear these masks and the universe forces them from us, we are forced to be a hermit. In the traditional tarot deck, the hermit card is about doing the internal work, as well as the shadow card, the moon card. It's about going in, doing the work. So the universe literally cut the world away from me to the point where I had to live with myself. The only thing that I had was me, myself, and I to really deal with and live with. And I really had to rediscover what my purpose in life was. That's when I went through my spiritual awakening. I'm like, okay, so I can talk to the dead. No big deal. Some people are like, Will, you're fucking crazy. You can talk to the dead. Another thing that I realized is I have the ability, it's not even just talking to the dead, it's also talking to people's spirit guides, connecting to their authentic truth, and it's about healing through source, really connecting myself to my higher self and knowing what my truth is and my light and how I can be of service to others. But obviously, becoming a service to others is through loving yourself unconditionally. So I had to rediscover the things about myself that I love. Even through losing my memory, I had to rediscover who I was as a person. There were things that as a child that I forgot that I did, and thoughts that I had as a child, and I really had to find that again. And it took me 1.5 years to get through that process. And then after the 1.5 years, after getting off all the medication, I talked to my doctors when I did this. Sorry, there's a fly around me too. I never support anyone, being a medical professional myself, I would never tell someone to get off medication just like that, because you have to do it in a process and under supervision, because there was a lot of side effects to it. I had to go through hell and back when it comes to all those meds that I was on, but it made me the person that I am today. If I were to go to a client now, me becoming a medical professional, I'm going into naturopathic healthcare, not so much medical care, although I appreciate what doctors do because we do need doctors. I'm going more so with the holistic side. Having that experience now, I can actually go out there in the world, and one day when I do prescribe things to my patients, or if they are on medication like that, I'll know what they're going through my own experience. I don't have to tell them. I don't need to disclose anything about my life, but that'll be my way of helping them and healing them. And then eventually, the day will come when I see my patients eventually coming off the drugs and being authentic and happy with themselves. And that'll be the day where I realize, wow, I've made an impact on someone's life. And that feeds my soul. And that's positive karma. That's good things that you're putting out in the universe that you will eventually get back somehow. And I do it through unconditional love. But it will be my career, so I'll probably make money from it, which is not a bad thing. I say manifesting abundance is always a good thing. Bringing it back to the dark night of the soul. The dark night of the soul is essentially the universe putting one of the most biggest struggles in your life in your face, and you having to go in and deal with it. You can't run away from it because everything around you is forcing you to deal with your biggest fear. The dark night of the soul can be triggered through many things. It can be triggered through losing a loved one, losing a partner. The dark night of the soul can be triggered through meeting a twin flame or a soulmate, because what they do is you're living in this ego, and then your heart space is like a peanut. Think of the Grinch, okay? The heart grew 10 times its size after he realized, wow, if I give love, I will receive love. Think about the heart as the peanut, and the mind is like this dark halo. The dark night of the soul is, and all of a sudden I meet my twin flame, and my twin flame sparks my heart to this big, but my mind is telling me all of these other things that are not true. So it puts you in a position where you have to reevaluate your entire life. You have to think, wow, there is more to life than just what I thought there was. It's like sleeping, living in a sleeping state, and then you're all of a sudden, bam, awaken, or you're forced into awakening. The dark night of the soul can be triggered by an addiction. It can be triggered by a mental disorder. It can be triggered by anything. The common theme of the dark night of the soul is to be reconnected to your authentic self, which is source, God, love, unconditional love, in its raw, authentic form. I lost my train of thought. So yeah, the dark night of the soul. Where was I going with this? It's doesn't usually happen. So the ego, so the mask, I'm really trying to figure out what I was talking about. Come on. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything much more that I need to really say about it other than this is my story. Meeting a twin flame or a soulmate can spark the dark night of the soul. It can put you in a state of depression, anxiety, fear, total loss, but it's also the time that we're given to go within. It's the time that we're given to really discover our authentic self, our truth, what ignites our soul and our passion that we don't need to rely on others for our own happiness. I always say our happiness literally lies right here. It's in your heart space. If something in the world or someone in the world doesn't resonate, or somebody, even if it's your own parents, if they say something to you that's even a little bit negative and it doesn't resonate with being at a high vibration, unconditional love, positive energy, shut it down. Just say something. I always say if someone says something that's kind of a joke but negative, I'll be like, that's not the truth. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, and I'm like, no, that's not the truth. And then I'll say, this is the truth. I mean, sometimes it's a buzzkill, but I'm not gonna laugh at something that's not truthful, especially if it's kind of targeted towards me or my light. If it's your light, don't let that light dim. I want you guys to make that light so bright that we have two suns on this earth. So if anyone's out there and they're wondering what the dark night of the soul is, the dark night of the soul, and when I mention it in my tarot videos, is essentially an ascension process. It's about you finding your own light and your own happiness and your own contentment within your own self. And it all comes through self-care, self-love, self-reflection. It's not ego. Loving the self is not ego, but make sure you're loving the right part of yourself. Loving your own heart space and your own values, your own... It's about loving the love that you hold. I think that's essentially what the dark night of the soul is. And it's really getting connected back to your spirituality and realizing that everything in life is transient. Everything changes. Things come, things go. It's all part of the process of life. It's all part of the growing. But yeah, so I really hope that this video maybe gave you some light and some hope. Even if you are right now watching this video and you are in the darkest time of your life, just know that if I can do it, you can do it. If I can sit here and tell you that 2-3 years ago, I was on a hospital bed fighting for my life, and now I'm here making videos, finishing my first year of medical school, like loving life, like I really do love life, and just going with the flow of life and eating healthy, taking care of myself, doing the things that I have to do to help others, being the leader for others. Be the light and empower other people so that they can be light as well. When you start realizing that, like, the dark night of the soul is bam, that easy. Another thing I was gonna say about the dark night of the soul before I finish this off is sometimes we go through multiple dark nights of the soul in order for, because the ego doesn't die overnight. Ego can take a year, it could take 2 years, it could take a whole lifetime. Some people go through a whole lifetime of the dark night until they realize what their authentic self is and they really go back to their authentic self. It's a matter of always staying in your truth so that you don't have to go through the dark night again or through the shedding of the ego. So stay in the truth of unconditional love, love for yourself and others, and don't let lower vibrational people, lower vibrational thoughts, lower vibrational energy pull you down. Always stay in that high vibrational state. And the best way to do that is by shutting down negativity before it even starts. That includes playing the victim. As a Pisces, and that's probably part of my soul lesson as well, is not to play the victim, because I tend to play the victim, but that's also how I relate to a lot of people, because a lot of people do play the victim. And it's so easy to fall into that habit of playing the victim. Try to get out of that victim mentality and take control of your life. Make your own happiness. Produce your own happiness. Because ultimately you are in control of the love that you have and the love that you bring into your life. I read a lot of inspirational quotes. I follow a lot of inspirational people, whether it's Eckhart Tolle, even Oprah Winfrey. And every time I listen to them, and it's always the same common theme. It's as soon as someone doesn't resonate with my energy, I realize that they're not supposed to be in my life. And I feel that through even my own thoughts when people are thinking about me. I feel their energy and I'm like, this doesn't resonate with me. It doesn't serve my highest good. And I block it from my life. Through love though, I'm like, okay, well, you know what? It's just not supposed to happen right now. Moving forward, I hope that one day maybe if we're at the same place in life that it'll happen. But if not, then that'll be it. That's the dark night of the soul. If you want, you guys can Google it, research it, look it up, have a field day, whatever you want to do. But I just wanted to guys kind of give you an idea of what my experience was with the dark night of the soul and how I got out of it through a lot of self-care and self-love and rediscovering my own truth. It's like the yin and the yang. Even in the most darkest, there's always a little bit of light, and even in the light, there's always a little bit of darkness. But you want to be in the light with a little bit of darkness so you can manage it. The darkness is the fear of death, fear of going crazy, the fear of losing the one you love the most. most, which is very twin flame soulmate. It's abandonment. Whatever those fears are, just know that we can still be light amongst those fears. And those fears are only illusions that we have in this lifetime. Illusions of, they're not going to accept me if I come out of the closet. When the universe keeps you in a certain position 3-4 years, it's because you haven't done the internal work. You can't move on in life, you can't progress until you realize what it is that you need to do. And that's to really reconnect to your authentic self and truth. Whether it's your career, your love life, or anything like that. It's about you going in and discovering what your truth is again. So I wanted to end this video, if you guys watched it till the end, I hope you did, with some angel cards. So this is just going to be a quick message for you guys. A card just flew out. Okay, so this is be a message for you guys. And maybe if you are going through something, that is so funny. I would say it's always meant to be. So Xana reads, yes, you are protected from all types of harm. The worst is now behind you. I ask you to relax and feel safe. If any of you are going through your dark night of the soul, just know that your angels, even in the most darkest moments of your life, where you feel like all hope is lost, because I've been there, just know that it will work out. It always works out in the end. Your angels wouldn't do that to you. All of the struggles, I know there's a quote about this too. It's God gives his toughest problems to his bravest soldiers, something along those lines. The universe does not give us problems that we as humans, as souls, cannot handle or deal with. Everything that we go through in life is something that we have predestined to go through and handle because our souls are capable of handling it. People who go through their dark nights, it's usually an initiation to be a shaman or someone who's very, very spiritually developed or be a spiritual leader. Not everyone will go through a dark night. Some people, their souls have already advanced so far where they are connected to their authentic self. They don't need to go through a dark night. But it's all about always realigning yourself to your highest good and your authentic self. Okay, my lovely subscribers and all of those who kind of tuned in to see like what the dark night is or what my story was. I really, really hope that this helps you move forward in life, whether it's getting through a twin flame soulmate connection or a rough patch with your career or your love life or whatever it is, or something very traumatic like the loss of a loved one. I just want you to know that first off, there's a reason why you're going through this. It's because you need to do the internal work. Go within yourself and find that light and let that light shine into the world. I want you to be just a bright light in everyone's life so that you can lead by example. And that's what we're here to do, is we're here to empower others to be leaders of unconditional love. Okay, my lovely subscribers, stay tuned. I might post some love readings for soulmate twin flames, maybe mid-month, just to kind of have like an upkeep for it, so like a June mid-month kind of thing. And then for July, I will also have my tarot reading. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Will Weston 1111. Check me out on Instagram at Will Weston 1111 if you're interested in my private life, or go to my website at willweston1111.com if you're interested in a private consultation for twin flame soulmate connections, or if you'd like me to channel your loved ones who've crossed over so that I can give you guys some healing energy. Okay, you guys, I love you. Take care, be light, and laugh a little. Laughter heals a lot. Take care, you guys. I love you.